Come on. This guy. There we go. Hey Morgan, how are you? My weekend was great. So, watched a lot of football. Well, not a lot of football, but it was good football. That was about it. How about you? How was your weekend? Anything new, exciting going on? Hockey, yeah. So, I haven't watched too much hockey this year. We'll might have to get back into that here. So, because of course last year was crazy. And then who is it? I was following CC for a little bit there, but kind of caught the football bug at the end of the year here. After everything was said and done with the fall, and then getting through my binge watching of TV over Christmas break was I don't know, interspersed with football here and there, but we had a couple really good games in the postseason, so I was kind of getting into it, especially since I wasn't vested in any particular team. But yeah, no, I might have to check out some hockey. Who's your team? So I'm curious. Is it pro, college? I've been kind of. Hey, Squidson, how are you? Been kind of like lukewarm on hockey for a couple years now. So same thing with basketball. I just can't get into it. Traditionally, my sport of choice has always been baseball, though. So baseball is my is kind of my summer passion, and Of course, all sports this year were kind of screwy, but baseball was the one that I don't know. I kind of felt normal because I'm used to seeing empty stands. Yeah, the Avs fan. Yeah, no. Avs. I remember going to an original Avs game. Oh my God, when did they start? It was like '92 or something like that. This was way back in the day, the Patrick Waugh days and stuff like that. Um, I don't even think it was called the Pepsi Center. It might have been still McNichols back then. I don't even remember. Yeah, I miss baseball too. I hear you on that one, Blake. So, who's your team? 95. Nice. Yeah, okay. So, maybe it's not that far back. Wow, it's only a couple of years. So, but yeah. Um, I remember, man, I remember I wasn't living in Denver at the time. I mean, I was still in the state. But then I was living in Denver like '06 to '08. Or no, maybe it was all the way till 10. I can't remember anymore. And we used to go catch Avs games from time to time. They were really cheap to go to for a while there too. Well, I mean, compared to other Denver sports, the Avs tickets never been cheap. No Denver tickets were never cheap. Rockies fan through and through. I'm so sorry, man. I love the Rockies too. They just refuse to love us back. Although I did go, what was it, NLCS and yeah, that must have been right around the same time too, where they had the 29 game run up all the way to the NLCS. Well, yeah, no, that was a streak, and then they played the tiebreaker game, and then ran all the way to the series for that one. I remember watching. Actually, no, it was the year after that, so it must have been '08. I remember going to the NLCS game where we were eliminated by the Phillies thanks to Houston Street, and my brother and I are notorious hecklers. So, we almost got tossed from that game. Rockies tickets are super cheap, yeah. So, no, I grew up a Yankee fan, and so some people hate me for that, but that's okay. You have to suffer your licks if you have good taste in baseball. So, but that's okay. But I'm weird about it too because I actually do like the Red Sox as well, and some people would consider that to be blasphemy. But my argument's always been, well, the Red Sox just make the Yankees a better team over the years. And so, yeah, no, and he was saying, well, as you grew up in New York, what kind of heritage do you have to be a Yankees fan? My dad grew up about a block from the stadium, and so I didn't have a choice when I was growing up. And when the Rockies moved in as the expansion team back in the day, in fact, we went to one of their opening games, their very first games, back with the old before they even built the stadium. It was the Mile High was a cookie cutter stadium, and so their first, I think maybe their first season or two was actually done in Mile High. We went to a bunch of those games. So D-backs, yeah, D-backs are good too. So, well, they've been, like all baseball teams, you get a little bit of a sine wave going on, but I've always enjoyed D-backs games. In fact, not last spring, but just about every spring, since my in-laws, they have a place down in Arizona, so they do the winter here, summer there, kind of, or no, the other way around thing. But we always go to spring training down there, and always see the D-backs, always see the Rockies and their beautiful little stadium down there. There's like 5 or 6 of them down there, and so we'll go down there for a week during spring break. I don't know if they're doing that this year, but we missed it last year because of that. Dodgers are great too. Dodgers, excellent baseball team. Many years, many years. Lots of history with that team. So, I have a soft spot for a lot of baseball teams. So baseball is one of those sports. I don't hate anybody in baseball. I can't say the same thing about football. I think football brings out the worst in some people, but that's neither here nor there. All right, well, we got quite a few people here. We're 5 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get too deep into it today, a couple things. An answer for your question here, Harley, who was asking me about course access. Yeah, apparently the bookstore, there was a screw up at some point in time in the fall where the bookstore, and apparently this is not just this class, but, and I'm not saying it's anything to do with the bookstore or with anything whatsoever, but I just sent them an email, and so I'll let you know when I hear back. But the folks at the bookstore are usually pretty good, but apparently they didn't get the order for this class. So it didn't roll over from the previous class, which is what it usually does. But I totally understand with COVID and things like that going on, especially like right when book orders hit in the fall is basically when we were booted off campus again. So totally understandable. My bad for not following up with that. I'll let you know what they tell me, but chances are they'll be able to get that fixed pretty quick, and they'll have course accesses or access codes available for those of you who are on FA here pretty soon. I'll work with them to make sure that we get that sorted out. So if you are waiting for financial aid and stuff like that, let me know if it doesn't pop up in there in the next couple days or something like that. Just so that we can actually extend some of this stuff out for you, because I need you to have the stuff done for progress in Alex by the 1st, because that's our drop date. But as long as you're engaging with me, I know not to drop you. Okay? It's the folks who don't say anything, and they're just like, oh, whatever. So, and those are the ones where if I don't hear anything from you by the 1st, I'm going to have to drop you. All right, but if you keep in touch with me, and if you're waiting on the bookstore, just again, keep in touch with me. It'll be okay. All right. With that being said, today we're going to do a little bit more work in Basic Alex here on my yellow slice of the pie. I think we're going to crush most of those out today, and then we can start pushing the oranges a little early on Wednesday, because these problems here aren't too difficult. I was even thinking about making videos on them, but really, I don't even make videos on how to round numbers, do I? But if I do, that's okay. They'll be buried somewhere here in the live stream. But with that being said, we will do some trivia today, and at the same point in time, if you have any questions on any other of the other slices of the pie, start punching them in there so that we have something to cover once we get to like Q&A session. But I don't expect to spend more than maybe about 15-20 minutes on polishing these off here. But again, if you haven't done the access or the initial assessment yet, that's fine. Just, take notes today, I guess, so you can ace all of those that you get in there. But then, start cooking up some questions if you're working on these. So this one that's showing on the screen right now is our class average. So it looks like most of the people who are taking the assessment are basically crushing out this yellow slice of their pie, which is absolutely what it's designed to do. And again, if you only get a few of them, it's okay. You can rocket through whatever's left pretty quick. And I am noticing that some people are putting in some substantial hours here to try and push the oranges, and so that's why I want to try and cover those starting on Wednesday. If you're getting red questions or purple questions, I notice that nobody's been working on the purple questions just quite yet. We can take a look. So once we start getting everybody signed up here and things like that, you'll be able to see kind of roughly where the class progress is, judging on these percentages right here. And so again, of the people who've taken the initial assessment, most people have knocked out the yellows, and about a third of you are working through the oranges at this point in time. Okay, so nobody's made it to the purple, but notice that there are a couple questions down here in the blues. This medium blue right here, medium blue. And that's because they relate to some of the questions that are here in the yellows. But if you push too far into this one, even if you knock a couple of these out in here, you're going to start running into questions that is going to look like rocket science compared to the previous one. And that's because there's other things that unlock as you go. But it does work out that way. All right. So anyway, let's dive into mine here real quick. And again, and I'm going to press this issue, is if you have topics that you're working on or that you're curious about, start like digging into your own Alex here to let me know what the topics are so I can cover those in some great detail. Just understanding that I will cover everything eventually in the class, but it's absolutely okay to ask me about it beforehand. So I've got 8, and that's 8 out of 18. We're going to see if we can actually crush out the rest of these here real quick today. All right, so let's see. We got 18, so let's try and do 4 or 5, and then we'll do a trivia, and then we'll do another one, and then we'll do Q&A, and then we'll do a trivia at the very end of the day. So it's my goal to get out 3 today, because it looks like we got quite a few folks here, so that's awesome. All right, so the first one that it decided to barf out me was converting between percentages and decimals. Just remember, percentages and decimals are absolutely interchangeable. Same thing with fractions. Fraction is a decimal, is basically a division problem that hasn't been done. And so if you do the division problem, ta-da, you get the decimal. And then if you take the decimal, you can convert it into a percent just by moving the decimal point over 2 times to the right. And so easy breezy, let's just go ahead and kill this guy off. Watch me jack a couple of these up, but that's okay. 8.16% as a decimal, so it's giving me a percent, wants to change it back to a decimal. Simple thing, just move the decimal place 2 points to the right. So 0.816 or 8%, and then the same this one. 0.3 as a percentage is going to be 30%. Just move the decimal 2 times over. If you can't do it, you just add a 0. So there we go. Check. Ta-da! Piece of cake. There are points in time in Alex where it does ask you to do these several different times. So this one's going to be 9.34%. You know, but usually they're different parts of a problem where sometimes it does give it you to as a percent, and it asks you for the answer as a decimal. And then there's some confusing ones down the road where you actually have problems that are giving you decimals, okay, but they're actually percents, okay. I'll point those out when we get to them, but I'm just rocking through these. So 630% as a decimal would be 6.30. And then 5.28 as a percentage, 58.2%. There we go. So, ta-da, done. 1, done. And we'll see. My mic's in the way. Here we go. We'll see exactly how okay, so we got some algebra here. So algebra is something that we do run into in the class from time to time. So in 2-step equation with integers, just remember your rules with algebra. This is an